A magnificent day to everyone. I hope everyone's doing just fine, because today we will be discussing rocks. But before that, we shall introduce ourselves. We are the 3 R's.
Wait a minute. Did you just say 3 R's? Do you mean reduce, reuse, and recycle?
Oh, that's not what it is supposed to mean. 3 R's pertain to us reporters, including our topic for today: Rizhlee, Ronnel, and rocks.
Oh, what a brilliant name.
Every day, we encounter many organisms and objects that are part of the ecosystem, including living and non-living things. One of those are the rocks. We may think that rocks are all the same, but they are not. It has 3 types or classes, and these are namely igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic rocks. But today, we will be focusing more on sedimentary rocks. Let's go and delve into it.
Before we start this discussion, does anyone here know the famous White House in the United States of America? Do you know what material was used in building this infrastructure? And why is the White House white? Its color has a lot to do with the stone materials that were used to construct it. Let us know the answer to all these questions after we discuss the sedimentary rocks and their relevance to the said infrastructure. Before anything else, here are the objectives that we need to accomplish at the end of this discussion. First, we need to describe how sedimentary rocks are formed. Second, we need to describe the properties of some common sedimentary rocks. Third, we must relate some common uses of sedimentary rocks.
What do we mean by sedimentary rocks? These rocks are formed as the sediments undergo compaction and cementation. In other words, sedimentary rocks are formed from pre-existing rocks or pieces of once living organisms. They form from deposits that accumulate on the Earth's surface. For us to visualize what sedimentary rocks look like, here are some examples that we have collected from the internet. As you can see, most of these rocks undergo compaction from other existing sediments.
Since sedimentary rocks are formed by the compaction of sediments may then include fragments of other rocks that have been worn down into small pieces like sand, organic materials, or in other words, the remains of once living organisms or chemical precipitates, which are materials that get left behind after the water evaporates from a solution.
For example, running water in rivers carries huge amounts of sediments. The river dumps these sediments along its banks and at the end of its course. When sediments settle out of the water, they form horizontal layers. One layer at a time is put down. Each new layer forms on top of the layers that are already there. Thus, each layer in sedimentary rock is younger than the layer under it and older than the layer over it. When the sediments harden, the layers are preserved. In large outcrops of sedimentary rocks, you can often see layers that show the position and order in which the original sediment layers were deposited. Scientists can figure out the relative ages of layers by knowing that older ones are on the bottom and younger ones are on top.
Here are the process information of sediments. First is what we call weathering, where it is the breakdown of rocks at the Earth's surface by the action of rainwater, extreme temperature, and biological activity. Second is the erosion, which is the geological process in which earthen materials are worn away and transported by natural forces such as wind, water, ice, gravity. Note that weathering and erosion produces sediments. Third is the deposition, the geological process in which earthen materials are deposited or built up on a landform. Once these sediments are deposited, they can become sedimentary rocks. Lastly is the lithification. It refers to the process by which sediments are transformed into solid sedimentary rocks. Lithification is made up of two processes. As sediments accumulate through time, the weight of overlying material compresses the deeper sediments. This is what we call compaction. After that, we have cementation, in which cementing materials such as calcite, silica, and iron oxide carried in a water-rich solution act as glue and fill the pore spaces between sediments.
And now, let us probe and discuss the types of sedimentary rocks. First is the clastic rocks. These are made of cemented, non-organic sediments. Examples are conglomerate, red sandstone, shale, gray sandstone, and breccia. Next is the bioclastic rocks. These are formed from organic remains of living things that may contain fossils. Examples are limestones, coal, fossiliferous shale. Lastly is the chemical sedimentary rocks. These are formed by the hardening of chemical precipitates. Examples are gypsum rocks and chemical limestones. We must remember that sediments must be compacted and cemented in order to produce and form sedimentary rocks.
Now, let's go back to our discussion earlier about why the White House is white. Sandstone is the principal material that was used in building this infrastructure. Why the sandstone? Sandstone is one of the best non-clastic sedimentary rocks. Sandstone is made of smaller, mostly sand-sized particles cemented together. Sandstone is also formed from layers of sandy sediment that is compacted and lithified. However, the sandstone that was used to construct the White House is very porous, which means that rainwater can easily penetrate the sandstone. This made the White House susceptible to water damage in its early days of construction. To stop the water damage, the workers had to cover the sandstone in a mixture of salt, rice, and glue, giving the White House its distinct color.
And that ends the discussion about sedimentary rocks, hoping that you learned and acquired plenty of useful lessons for today's discussion. If you have any questions, just comment down below. We are eternally grateful for your time. Keep safe and be healthy. Thank you.